Right, so now let us come to today's topic. Right, today's topic is comprehension passage. Usually this is the first question in your BCR paper and this is compulsory. The first question in BCR is compulsory. Right, this is usually question number 7. It is part of question number 7 part A. Right, it's a 5-mark compulsory question which has come in all the CA Foundation exams till now. So it is extremely important that we, let's say, try to master this and try to do this in the least possible time. It's a 5-mark question, right? What we'll do is we'll practice couple of comprehensions together and we'll try to keep note of the time which we are taking to do it. But it is relatively simple, and somebody with little bit of effort, right, I can guarantee you that you could score 5 out of 5 in this, right? So let's start the topic. Comprehension passage, what is the focus area? Here in the exam they will give us a passage, right, and then there will be certain questions relating to the passage which has been given. What we need to do is we need to read the passage and then answer the questions which are given, right? So it's pretty simple, and I believe most of you would have done this comprehension exercise in your school level as well. Let us look at the strategy, right, in terms of how can we attempt comprehension passage in the shortest possible time and get all our answers correct, right? So our objective is to score 5 out of 5 in the exam. It is part of the compulsory portion, so there is no escape, and the amount of time which one takes will significantly depend upon his or her reading speed as well as interpretation speed. We'll try to work on this and we'll try to take you to the level that you are able to do the comprehension 100% correctly in the shortest possible window of time. So let's start on with this. Here in this topic, what is our focus area? We have to learn how to read the given passage and we have to answer the questions relating to the passage. Now we'll come to the most important part, right, of doing this. That's our strategy, right? It's very important that we strategize properly in relation to this topic, right? It's a pretty simple topic, but when done with a focus and a strategy, it will become even more simple, right? Strategies for attempting comprehension passage. See, one of the most important thing, you need to keep this in mind, right? You need to keep this in mind. Carefully read the questions required to be answered before reading the passage. This is extremely important. I'll show you with the help of an example what I'm trying to say. Let's say this is the question in the exam, right? It says read the passage carefully and answer the questions given below. So this is the passage which we need to read and these are the questions, right? These are the questions, right, based on this passage which we need to answer. Our strategy will be that first you should read the questions, right? First you should read the questions, right? Read them very carefully so that you remember what the questions are asking while you are reading the passage. Once you are done with reading the questions, start reading the passage, right? This is a reverse strategy and this is extremely helpful while we are doing the comprehension passage because we know the requirement, right? What are we supposed to answer? And based on it, we can look for relevant portions in the passage, right? And we can highlight, we can mark them, which will form part of our answer. Practically we'll do and we'll see how it works. But always remember that whenever you are attempting the comprehension passage, before reading the passage, very carefully read the questions which are supposed to be answered, and usually the questions are in sequence, means the answer to the first question will be in the first part of the comprehension. The answer to the second part will be a little later. So it's chronologically drafted. Is it a rule? The answer is no. Generally what we observe is that the questions are formed chronologically, but it could be that they could be shuffled in any order as well. But as a matter of what we have observed over a period of time, that the questions are chronologically, let's say, drafted as per the sequence of the passage. Now the second important strategy which we need to have is that we should read the passage carefully and understand the main idea. See, normally what people say is that you should quickly scan through or skim through the passage and develop the whole idea of the passage. See, in this particular scenario, in the CA Foundation exam scenario, this is a 5-mark question, and we do not have so much of time to read and reread the questions and the answers, right? That's practically impossible for us to do in the exam. We will only have one read, right? We'll only have one read to the entire passage, and that's it, right? So what I am trying to say is read the passage very carefully. See, we have already read the questions, so we know what to look for in the passage, and we'll read the passage very, very carefully, right, to understand the main idea. And we will also mark the relevant portions which would form the answers to the question given in the exams. Now, why I am saying that you should also understand the main idea, because in several comprehensions we have seen that they ask a 2-mark question to summarize the entire content. So in other words, they are asking for a small précis as well, right, in the comprehension passage itself. It should be really small and it should focus upon the main theme or main idea of the passage, right? Then the third thing which we need to be careful is, while reading the passage, mark specific information related to the question. So we have already discussed this, that we'll read the question first. After reading the question, we'll read the passage, and based on the fact how the answers to the relevant question appears, we'll keep on marking it, right? Keep underlining the main point, identifying keywords and statements, because these will form part of the answer. So it's short, simple, easy. We'll do some comprehensions live in the class, right? So for those who would have struggled earlier while doing comprehensions, would also find this topic really easy. But what is required is a complete focus on your side, right? If you are completely focused and you're staying along with me, reading along with me, concentrating 100% in the class, I am sure that this topic will appear absolutely easy to each one of you. Now, what is the useful aid for somebody who is doing this topic? So if we talk about useful aids, develop a good reading speed, right? You need to have a good reading speed, and along with the reading speed, you should have good interpretation ability. So while you're reading something, you should also understand what is being read by you. Build a strong vocabulary, because as we'll go on reading this passage, you will find certain words which you might be hearing for the first time. But does it really matter? The answer is no. Why? The answer to this is in the third point. Infer the meaning of the new words from the context. So while you are reading it, right, if there's a new word, right, based on the sentence which you are reading, right, you would be able to make some sense of that word, and from the core perspective of the comprehension passage, right, these new words will not create a problem for you at all, right? So without any further delay, we'll start on with the practical exercise. Right, we'll start on with the practical exercise. I have taken up, see, in this particular class exercise, see, as I've already told that we have put or compiled for all of you questions from all the past papers, from the RTPs and from the MTPs as well. But from the class perspective, we will do 5-year questions from the past exam papers. So what has already come in the exam, those questions we will solve in class, so that it builds up a lot of confidence in your mind that you are able to do these passages. So whatever comes in the exam, you will be able to handle it well. So let's read it together. And it's an advice that whenever you are doing your comprehension passage as a practice at home, try to, let's say, run the stopwatch. Try to see that how much time does it take you to complete this. As I've already said that this will be a 5-mark question. Maximum which I want you to spend on this topic in the exam is 8 minutes. Right? Your target should be 8 minutes. Or less, right? You should be able to get done with this particular 5-mark question absolutely correctly in 8 minutes or less. Now let's read this together. This is the first passage which we are doing together. We will be a little slow in this because we are trying to grasp how to look for things and how to, let's say, identify our answers from the passage. But then as we move on, our speed will increase and you will see that we will be very easily meeting this 8-minute threshold. Is this clear to everyone? I want thumbs up from each one of you. Right, I want thumbs up from each one of you before we start on with this passage. Right, you have understood how to go about doing the comprehension passage. Right, quickly guys, I want to see thumbs up from each one of you so that we can confidently start up with this exercise. Right, so there are lots of thumbs up which are coming in. Great. And as I keep on saying, all of you present here should keep on participating, right? So that it becomes interactive and interesting for both of us. Right, so it says, what we need to do, read the passage carefully and answer the questions below. Will we read the passage right away? What is your opinion? Should we start up with reading the passage or do we need to do something else? Quickly in the chat guys. Should we start up reading the passage or do we need to do something prior to reading the passage? Very good. We need to read the questions first. We should acquaint ourselves with the questions first so that we could look for the answers while we are reading the passage. Very good. So let us read through the questions first. We'll very carefully read through these questions. Right, it says, in what manner good quality products give rewards to the organization? Right, so how does good quality product help the organization or rewards the organization? You should repeat the meaning in your mind very quickly once. The most significant factor which determines the long run success of an organization. So what is the most significant factor which, let's say, determines the long run success of the organization? See, whenever you are reading this, try to highlight keywords, because these same keywords, right, in all probabilities you will find in the passage as well. So in the first question, if I am to say the keyword would be good quality products, we need to look for how they reward the organization, right? So we'll keep our focus on this. Then in the second question, right, the keywords should be significant factor, right? Which is the most significant factor which determines the long-term success. So these two will be the keywords which we should highlight and we should look for while we are looking at the passage. Quality goods and services cannot be compromised by the organization. Give reason. So here the keyword should be compromise, right? The keyword should be compromise of what? Quality goods and services. Why quality goods and services cannot be compromised? And finally, we need to write a summary. As you would see that the first question is for 1 mark, the second question is for 1 mark, the third question is for 1 mark, and the summary is for 2 mark, which in total adds up to 5 mark. For these 1 mark questions, you need to be directly on point. I know some of you might think, sir, can we straight away pick the sentences from the passage and write it as our answer? My response to it is yes. You can directly pick up sentences from the passage and make it form part of your answer. There is no problem in doing that. Your answer could be short, crisp, and to the point. And while you are writing the summary, you need to write a small summary which will bring out the essence of the entire passage, right? So we are done with reading the questions. In the exam scenario under pressure, you will not take more than, let's say, 40 seconds in reading through, or rather 1 minute maximum in reading through these 3 or 4 questions. Now let us read the passage, right? Keeping our eye on the question, right? We should keep our eye on the questions, right? And then we should start reading. We should start reading the passage. So it says, let's read it together. It says, success of any organization depends on offering quality products at competitive prices. So in the first question, our keyword, one of our keyword was good quality products. So it was in what manner good quality products rewards the organization. So in the very first sentence, we could see it says that success of any organization depends upon offering good quality products at competitive prices. All over the world, it is being realized that quality control be ensured through inspection and test alone. Every department and individual has to contribute to make the achievement of quality. Quality products at competitive rate is the most significant factor. See, we had seen this word, right, in question number 2. If we quickly go to it, it says most significant factor which determines the long run success of the organization. So we have come to the word, the quality products at competitive prices is the most significant factor in determining the long run success of the organization. For question number 2, right, we have got our answer here, which says that what is required for long run success of the organization? Quality product at competitive prices, right? This is our answer to question number 2, right? Quality products at competitive prices is the most significant factor in determining the long run success of the organization. High quality of product can give a competitive edge to the organization. So how does high quality product help the organization? High quality product will give a competitive edge to the organization. On the other hand, good quality generates satisfied customers who rewards. So there's a word which is common with question number 1. Who rewards the organization with continued patronage and favorable word of mouth of advertising. Right? So this is the first para. Then we move on. So by this, if we'll quickly see, question number 1 is largely answered, question number 2 is answered, question number 3 says quality of goods and services cannot be compromised by the organization. Why? So it says growth in consumer quality awareness. So the consumer is now aware about the quality. Growth in consumer quality awareness has put a great strain on businesses. Consumer demand and dynamic technological changes have opened up new and highly competitive markets. So there are new and highly competitive markets which have come up. The quality of goods and services can no longer be taken for granted. So what is it saying? The quality of goods and services can no longer be taken for granted. So this would mean no longer be compromised, right? The quality of goods and services can no longer be compromised. So if we look at the third one, quality of goods and services cannot be compromised, give reasons. The reasons are straightforward. It's very much visible. The first reason is growth in consumer quality awareness. The second reason could be technological changes, right, which has opened up new and highly competitive markets. So the two reasons which would prevent an organization to compromise on the quality is the consumer quality awareness and technological changes, because of these things new and competitive markets have come into place. So first three answers we have got answers to, questions you have got answers to. Then, but still we need to read the full passage, because we need to write the summary as well. The rapid growth in the service sector has also introduced new perception of quality management. Institutions such as government, bank, hospitals do not produce tangible goods. The interaction between employees and customer is much more critical in such organization, because they don't have goods and services. The experience with the employees of these organization provides to its customer talks about its quality. As a result, the skills, attitude and training of service personnel affect the quality of service delivered. Information processing represents a large component of work done by service organizations and pose special quality consideration. Error in computer billing or airline or hotel reservation are the results of poor quality control of computer software and data input. So in this paragraph they are saying that there's a rapid growth. See, for goods, the quality of goods should be good. But if you are talking about services, it becomes the entire customer interaction with the organization, right? So since service sector is growing, right? So therefore, and the major service provider in the service sectors are like government, banks, hospitals, and their quality of service will largely depend upon the employees of those organizations who deal with the customers, right? And the skills, competencies and the etiquettes of these employees will be highly responsible for the quality experience which the customers would get. And then it says that if there are errors in billing or if there are errors in ticket booking or hotel reservation, it talks about poor quality in the computer software which is being used for the purpose of billing or airline reservation or hotel reservation. In view of globalization of markets, government have begun to realize the quality is essential to international trade and national economy. So we are in a global village, right, where each country is able to transact with the other countries. There are high volume of import-export transaction. So unless you maintain your quality, you will not succeed in the international market. Therefore, public purchasing authorities have instructed to buy goods that conform to quality standards. So there are a lot of countries which specify, or there are a lot of organizations which specify the standard. Let's say in India we have ISI mark, right? So that is a particular quality benchmark which the products or services should meet. So this is the paragraph. Based on these, we need to answer the question. I want each one of you to type answers to each of the questions in the chat. The first question is, in what manner quality goods give reward to the customer, right? So straight away if we look here, how will quality goods or services reward the organization? So we could say, or let's say, I'll wait for your response quickly. See, it's a 1 mark question. Maybe 1 sentence or at max 2 sentences should form part of your answer, right? I know it's a little taxing to keep typing in the chat and give your answers, but given the current scenario, I would want you to do this, right? So that I get a heads up into as to whether you are able to understand and do it on your own or not. Then I'll discuss the answers with all of you. Quickly put your answers in the chat. And if you are done with answer to question number 1, try to put the answer to question number 2, 3. Summary we'll verbally discuss because it's too much of typing, or if you want to do that, you can do that as well. Determination of long-term success of the firm. Okay, in what manner good quality product rewards the customer, right? I don't think it's appropriate to say that it determines the long-term success of the firm. You need to, it could be one of the point in it. It leads to customer satisfaction and hence continuous patronage and word of mouth advertising. Good I'm waiting for some more answers. After that, I'll start discussion. See, what we could say in this is good quality products, rewards and organizations in form of success. Right, so success is the ultimate reward. See, what we can include in our answer is, let us discuss the answer. We could straight away pick it from the first sentence. Right, we can straight away pick it from the first sentence. I am highlighting the parts which you should include in your answer. We could say success of any organization depends upon offering quality products. Then we could say that this includes, the reward would include long run success of the organization. It would give us a competitive edge, right? It would give the organization a competitive edge. Then it would lead to satisfied customers, right, who would maintain their continued patronage, and they would also lead to a favorable word of mouth. So whatever portions which I have highlighted in yellow, these should form part of your answer, right? You have to construct your answer saying that good quality offerings of good quality product and services would lead to the success of the organization, right? It gives long term, let's say it gives long run success to the organization. It provides a competitive edge to the organization as compared to its competitors. Good quality products would lead to satisfied customers and have their continued patronage, and as well to gain positive word of mouth advertising from the existing customer. This is how you should draft your answer. Is this clear with everybody? Thumbs up in the chat would indicate that you understood this. If you have any question, or if you need to add something else, or if you want some modification, you can put it in the chat. I will be happy to discuss. But this would form an accurate answer which will definitely fetch you 1 mark, right? So all these yellow highlights is in relation to the answer for question number 1. Right, all these yellow highlights are for answer to question number 1. Right, now let's come to question number 2. Question number 2 says, most significant factor in determining long run success of the organization. This is very straightforward. We can straight away pick it up from here. Right, good quality products at competitive prices. Right, good quality products at competitive prices. This is your answer to question number 2. that what is the most significant factor which determines the long-term success of the organization, you would say that providing good quality product at competitive prices is the most significant factor which determines the long-run success of the organization. Is this clear with everyone? Providing good quality products at competitive prices is the most significant factor, right, which determines the long-run success of the organization. Clear? Now, Shayad is asking, sir, how many words would be appropriate for a 1 mark answer? See, there is no thumb rule as to it. Your endeavor should be to completely satisfy the requirements of the question. So for question number 2, let's take this example. So question number 2, we wrote just one sentence, that providing good quality product at competitive prices is the most significant factor for determining long run success. That was for 1 mark question, but for question number 1, we wrote a little extra because there is information in the passage that which would go to question number as an answer to question number 1. So there's no thumb rule as to how many words or how many sentences should be there. It will depend upon what information relating to that question has been provided in the question. Right? Is it absolutely clear? It will depend upon the passage and how much of content is there relating to that question in the passage. But you don't need to write a lot. Maybe 2 sentences, 3 sentences at max would do. Now let's come to question number 3. Quality of goods and services cannot be compromised by the organization. Give reasons. Quickly send in your answers in the chat, that what are the reasons you could state as to why the quality of goods and services cannot be compromised. Quickly, I am waiting for your answers in the chat. Just put in pointers. You can, I know you will be able to draft it in the exam, but just put in the pointers as to why the quality of goods and services cannot be compromised. Right, so Debrup is saying greater consumer demand and technological advancement. What else? This will not fetch you 1 mark. Growth in consumer awareness and technological. Khushbu is saying growth in consumer awareness and technological changes. Very good. These 2 points would form part of the answer. Growth. Then the next answer says growth in consumer quality awareness. Very good. And technological advancements, growth in consumer quality awareness, very good. Then, right, so Krishi's dissatisfied customer lead to bad reputation. See, Krishi, here a specific feedback to you. We don't find this particular thing in the passage, right? You have made it on your own, saying dissatisfied customer lead to bad reputation. Right, this is not there in the passage. Try to pick up the words and sentences from the passage itself, because then this is too much judgmental. Whether dissatisfied consumer will lead to bad reputation and whether they will leave the organization, etc., we don't know. So whatever is given in the text, please, let's say, stick to that. Don't use words which are not there in the passage, or don't draft a sentence which is entirely off the passage which has been given to you. Is it clear, Krishi? Vishal is saying quality of goods and services cannot be compromised by the organization, as the consumer demand and dynamic technological changes have opened new and highly competitive markets, and good quality generates satisfied customer who reward the organization with continued patronage. See, your answer is good, Vishal, but you cannot miss on these 2 points, because they are in the question which they are asking is give reason why you cannot compromise, right? And the reason which is stated in the passage as to why you cannot compromise is consumer quality awareness. This has to be there in your answer. And See, then the next sentence read consumer demand and dynamic technological changes. See, try and understand why I am not using the word consumer demand, because you have to read this sentence in full, right? It says consumer demand and dynamic technological changes have opened up new market and new and highly competitive market. So consumer demand is one of the factor which is leading to highly competitive market or new markets. But technological changes is something which will bring advancement in technology, and with the help of advancement in technology, better quality products could be produced, right? That is why these 2 points should be there in your answer as to consumer quality awareness and dynamic technological changes. I am getting answers still. The quality of goods and services cannot be compromised because of the following reason: growth in consumer quality awareness, dynamic technological changes which have opened up new and highly competitive market. Very good. This is an accurate answer, right? If we look at this answer, this has been drafted accurately. The quality of goods and services cannot be compromised because of the following reason: growth in consumer quality awareness, dynamic technological changes which has opened up new and highly competitive market. Great. So this is the answer to question number 3. Now we'll talk about the summary of the passage, right? Now we'll talk about the summary of the passage. And before I move on, right, apart from students who are doing this live, if you are doing this as part of a video backup or maybe whatever other mode, or maybe if I load it on YouTube, if you're doing it on YouTube, try to write your answers, maybe in your copy, maybe in the comment section. Before I discuss the answer, you try to please draft your answer so that you also get a suitable feedback as to way in which you are thinking is synchronized in terms of what it actually should be. Right? Now if we talk about the summary, right, the summary should cover the essence of the entire passage. So if I am to, let's say, write the summary, I would say that the success of any organization would depend upon the quality of goods and services which it is offering to the consumers. Right, providing quality products at competitive prices plays the most significant role in the long run success of the organization. Right, then we will say that this leads to a competitive edge as well as satisfied customers, right, who provide their patronage to the organization and as well help in let's say getting new customers by word of mouth advertising. Then today the consumer is highly aware of the quality offerings of various products, and with increase in consumer demand and technological advancements, there are new and competitive markets have been created, so the quality cannot be taken for granted by any organization. Then we'll talk about these 2 paragraphs. There is a rapid growth in the service sector. In the service sector, the employees of the organization plays the vital role in providing quality of service to its customer. The skill, attitude and training of the employees will be highly important in relation to the quality of service being provided to the organization. Today we are living in a globalized world, right? And it is extremely important that the quality of goods and services is should be internationally competing, right? So this is how the summary would go. Is it clear with everyone? It should rather cover the main highlights which are there in the let's say the main passage which has been given in the question. Is it clear to everyone? So that we could move on to the next passage. We'll practice some passages live today so that it clears up in terms of how you should identify answers, how you should make summaries, etc. And then obviously there will be homework, there will be a lot of passages which I'll compile and I'll give it to you as part of the work, let's say homework. And you have to start solving, and your entire motive should be able to do it in the shortest possible time. Keep this stopwatch on with you and try to improve by each next comprehension which you are practicing. Let's come to the next one. Question number 2. Right, so first we'll read the questions which are given and then we'll move on to the passage. Right, everybody please stay along with me. It says, what could be the possible reason behind employee quitting the company after acquiring higher qualification? So here we are have to find out the reason why the employees are leaving the company after they acquire higher qualification. Is there any need to amend or change policy for education reimbursement? So maybe there is some policy for education reimbursement. Do we need to change it? What measures do you suggest? Right? What measures do you suggest? Very important. Here they are saying, what measures do you suggest? This is not relating to the passage, right? They are asking our personal opinion in this case. They are saying that what measures do you suggest for overcoming high employee attrition problem? First, if somebody could tell me the meaning of employee attrition problem. What is employee attrition? Or what does the word employee attrition mean? Quickly put it into the chat. See, if you even don't know, you read the passage, you will get the sense of it. But I want to see if somebody knows the meaning of attrition. If you know, just put it in the chat quickly. Right, so now, see, there are only 3 questions, 2, 1, 2, total 5 marks. The first question wants us to tell us the reason behind employee quitting after getting higher education, then higher qualification. Then the second says, is it required to amend or change the policy? And the third question requires us to suggest, right, how to overcome employee attrition problem. Reducing effectiveness is not right. Employee attrition means employee movement, employee quitting the organization, right, is known as employee attrition, right? So when employees leave the organization, it is known as attrition. It is same as quitting the organization. Now let us quickly read the passage together. And we'll keep on highlighting the keywords or the areas which will form part of our answer. It says, Mr. Ramesh, the HR head of ABC Insurance Company, who is having charge of training and development also. So he is the HR head and he is also responsible for training and development. During his 12 years with the company, he had the experience of training and developing numerous employees only to see them leave the firm after getting their advanced degree. So they train the employees, they provide the training to the employees, and once the employee acquires higher qualification, the employee leaves the organization. The company has a policy of reimbursement of 90% of the cost. So see in the question number 2, there was something relating to the policy, right? Is there a need to change the policy? So here it says that the company has a policy of reimbursing 90% of the cost incurred on tuition, book, etc. for acquiring such qualifications. So the company helps the employees by, let's say, providing financial aid in acquiring higher qualification. Only those employees who have taken prior permission from the HR before enrolling in such program or degree and have completed 3 years of service are eligible for seeking such reimbursement. A proof of its popularity was that most junior and middle level managers have availed this facility to advance their qualification. Then it says Mr. Kumar, a sales executive who had joined the company just 3 years ago, right? So he had joined the company 3 years ago, had also availed the aforesaid facility for pursuing the course in business management and had recently completed his master's in business management and submitted the same to the company for seeking reimbursement and recording additional qualification acquired in the official record. So this employee has completed 3 years. He availed the opportunity for higher education. Now he has got his master's degree and he has submitted his claim for reimbursement. What do we mean by reimbursement? If you have spent something and if you want that money back, that is known as reimbursement. So the company will reimburse 90%. So maybe if I am the employee, I have spent 1 lakh rupees on this degree, the company will reimburse 90,000. The company will pay me back 90,000 what I have already spent. Mr. Ramesh is the head of HR. Mr. Ramesh congratulated him and added his additional qualifications acquired by him in the company record and assured him to consider him for higher position. So they will consider him for higher position, keeping in view his qualification in near future and of course subject to availability of vacancy as per the as per the approved organization chart. Further, Mr. Ramesh allowed reimbursement of 90% of the cost incurred as per their policy. Kumar, on his achievement, when he came to see and thank HR head, but was strongly taken aback when he expressed his intention to leave the company in favor of a competitor. So now he has completed his higher qualification and he wants to leave the company. Because he did not see any future for himself in this company, which is APC Insurance Company Limited, head of HR was annoyed as this had happened so many times in the past. He immediately rushed to the marketing director to seek support for reviewing and discontinuing the policy for educational reimbursement with immediate effect, or put a condition, right? He wants a condition to be put that all those employees who acquired such qualification and reimburse 90% of the, let's say, expenses shall at least serve the company for minimum 3 years after seeking such reimbursement. So they want to change the policy saying that if you have seek the reimbursement of 90%, you should stay with the company at least for 3 years after, right? At least for 3 years after you seek the reimbursement. Now let's go to the question. The first question: what could be the possible reason for employees quitting the company after acquiring higher qualification? Quickly, I want the answers in the chat, that based on reading this passage, what do you think? What is the reason that the employees are leaving the organization? Quickly, where can we locate the answer? No future at present company. Very good, right? So in this particular paragraph, if we look at it, that it says that was strongly taken aback when he expressed his intention to leave the company in favor of a competitor because this is the reason. He did not see any future for himself in ABC company, right? There was no future. Right, so here the answer could state, right, here the answer could state that once the employee acquire higher qualification, listen to this very carefully, once the employee acquire higher qualification, he expects promotion, he expects increment in his salary, right, given his higher qualification or advancement in his qualification. But because of dearth of opportunity in the company, right, they look for better opportunities outside the organization, maybe in the competing firms. Is it clear to everyone? See, here there was no straight answer, but based on reading the passage, we got the sense that what the answer could be, right? The answer to this is that he did not see any future for himself, right? Because he wanted an immediate, let's say he wanted an immediate increment in his salary and immediate promotion, but that was not there in the company, because the HR said here that he will consider him for higher position, keeping in view his qualification in near future, and of course subject to availability of vacancy as per the approved organizational chart. But this opportunity was not available immediately. That is why the employee left the organization. Second point, is there any need to amend? Is there any need to amend or abandon? Amend means change, abandon means to close the policy for educational reimbursement. What is your answer to this? Quickly put this in the chat. What is your answer to this? Is there any need to amend or abandon the policy? Yes, due to high employee turnover, right? So, but more to it, if it's a, let's say, 1 mark answer, you just cannot say yes, there is a need. You need to state something, right? So if you are to draft the answer for this, I'll take a pause for a minute, not a problem, but I want each one of you to draft the answer, right? And then we will discuss. Quickly draft the answer, put it in the chat, put it in the comment, write it in your copy, right? If you are watching it offline. But I want you to draft the answer. Based on the sense which you make out of the passage, draft your answer that whether you need to abandon or amend this policy. Krishi is saying yes, due to the fact that many employees are availing the reimbursement and then leaving the organization. Very good. Since employees are leaving just after qualifying, the company is unnecessarily incurring cost only to see the employee use the skill in a rival firm, putting them to a competitive disadvantage. Very good. Yes, there is a need to amend the policy as there is a high employee attrition rate after attaining the higher qualification. Yes, there is a need to amend, abandon the policy because employees tend to leave the organization for a higher position in a competitive organization after achieving higher qualification and seeking reimbursement. Right, so good. So here what we could say is that based on the scenario faced by the firm, that the company is reimbursing the 90% of the cost, and immediately after that the employee quits and joins a competitor joins a competing firm. So the company could think of let's say amending the policy. If you see, abandonment will be a very big step, and continuous training and development is also required for the growth of the current organization, right? Unless your employees are let's say there's an advancement in skills of your own employee, the organization will not survive in the competitive world. So what you could say is that there could be an amendment in the current policy whereby as suggested by the HR head, that if you are claiming a reimbursement, right, then in that case you should stay with the organization for 3 more years, right? You could see all of you have written good answers, but try to say that instead of abandoning the policy, the company could think of amending it, right, as suggested by the HR head, that if you get a reimbursement or if you claim a reimbursement, you should commit to stay with the company for at least 3 years after you get your cost reimbursed. Then yes, then there is yes, because even after providing them higher education, there are not sufficient vacancies or scope of career advancement. Moreover, the employees are availing the policy and then joining the competitive firm, which adds unnecessarily cost to the current firm, right? So all these answers are correct, good, but try to mention the fact that instead of let's say abandoning, the company may think of amending it as suggested by the HR head, that at least an employee will have to stay back for 3 years if he or she is claiming 90% reimbursement of the cost incurred. Is it clear with everybody? Very much impressed with your answers, great work, but please try to add the additional portion which I have said. Thumbs up if everybody is clear, and if there is a question, please ask. Great. Now the next question is not related to the passage, right? It's basically, see, this question came in the CA Foundation exam in November 2020. It's a little way off as compared to customarily how we see comprehension passage, because generally in comprehension passage there is something given in the passage of which you need to write. But this question asks us about what measures you would suggest to overcome high attrition problem. So maybe you give 3 or 4 points which would state that how the employee attrition, as per your understanding or as per your advice, and how this should be prevented. So can each one of you put in couple of points in the chat? That what do you think, what could work as a deterrent to attrition rate? How you could be able to, let's say, retain employees for a longer period of time? What should the organization do? What is your opinion? Right, provide greater promotion opportunities and fringe benefits. Okay. That's just one point. Give employees a small raise or bonus for completing their qualification. Very good. So basically what Krishi is trying to say, that give them a little bit of push so that they are also happy and they are retained in the organization. What else? We need to write couple of points. Providing incentive to employee when they impress the company with their work. Okay. What else? I think you should write about amending the education policy as well, right? The education policy should be amended to provide that the employee should continue with the organization, right, for a certain period of time. Or maybe a good idea which comes to my mind is that instead of reimbursing the 90% of cost in one go, you could reimburse it in installments, because as the reimbursement is made, maybe if I spend 1 lakh, I get my 90%, which is 90,000, right? I quit the organization. What the organization could do is that the organization could divide this 1 lakh in, let's say, this 90,000 which it is reimbursing in, let's say, 3 or 4 installments. Every 6 months or every year, maybe a certain portion of the cost will be reimbursed, right? So this will be like act as a deterrent, because if I am spending 1 lakh, I get 90,000 at a go, I can leave the organization. If I am spending 1 lakh and I am getting 30,000 in the first year, 30,000 in the second year, 30,000 in the third year, then I have still an exposure, and which will, let's say, induce me to stay more with the organization, right? So we should include this. Then the reimbursement should be given in 4 to 5 annual terms. Very good. Priority in promotion for employee finishing the education. Okay. Payment of reimbursement amount after serving the organization for a specific period of time after achieving the qualification. So very good. So you should be there with the organization for a specific period of time once you do complete your education, right? So try to include, in this case, this is a 2-mark question. Try to include in pointers 4 to 5 suggestions. Right, try to include 4 to 5 pointers in the answer so that you score full 2 marks out of it, right? So is it clear? So by this we are done with the second passage, right? Hope it is clear to each one of you in terms of what is expected from us in the exam. These are all exam questions. This came in November 2020. The earlier one which we did came in the January 21 term. Let's go to the next one. We'll try to do it a little fast. This is the third passage which we are doing together. We'll try to do it a little faster, and I would expect more answers coming in from your end in this particular thing, right? Let's quickly go to the questions. There are 4 questions, 3 of 1 mark each and 1 of 2 mark each, which requires us to do the summary. Let us quickly read through it and mark the key points. What did Mary did not like about Warsaw University? So what do you need to do? You need to say did not like. What did Mary did not like about Warsaw University? What was that she did not like about that university? What first step Mary took towards her becoming a scientist, right? What was the step which she took towards becoming a scientist? How did Mary deal with desolation caused by her husband's death? So how did he deal with a situation in which she was extremely, let's say, depressed after her husband's death? And then write a summary of the passage, for which you need to read the entire passage itself, right? So I am putting up the stopwatch on so that we can track that. Although we are doing it together, I am explaining in detail how much time are we taking to do this. Right, so we have read the question. We took, let's say, a minute to read this. You could do it even faster. Now let's quickly read through the passage. It says, being a daughter of a physics professor, Mary, who was born in 1867 in Warsaw, Poland, was greatly influenced by the wonders of science and technology. So from the childhood, she always wanted to become a scientist because she was interested in it. Since an early age, she displayed a blithe personality. Blithe would mean indifferent. Her fascination for learning prompted her to continue her studies even after school. So after completing her school, she wanted to do further studies because she was interested in science and technology. She became disgruntled. Disgruntled means disappointed, disgusted. She became disgruntled, however, when she learned that the University of Warsaw was closed for women. So see, the first question, answer to the first question, I think is located here, because it says that what did she not like about the Warsaw University, right? This is the first. Here the first question, what did Mary not like about the Warsaw University? So it says that she was disgruntled, means disappointed or disgusted. However, when she learned that the University of Warsaw was closed for women, determined to complete her higher education, even if the university was not providing opportunities to women, she was determined to complete her higher education. She definitely left Poland in 1891, entered the Sorbonne, a French, entered the Sorbonne, a French university, where she completed her doctorate in physics. So I think this is the part where we get answer to the second question, right? Determined to continue higher education, she left Poland in 1891, entered the Sorbonne, a French university, where she completed her physics. So the second question was, what was the first step that Marie took towards her becoming a scientist? So she's a doctorate in physics, means now she is a scientist. So this is the second answer which we have got. Then it says, Mary met Pierre at the Sorbonne along with some of the other great scientists of her day. So this person is also a great scientist because it says along with other great scientists of her day. Mary and Pierre were married. So both of them got married in 1895 and spent many productive years working together in the physics laboratory. A short time after they discovered radium, so they together discovered radium, Pierre was killed by a horse-drawn wagon in 1906. So her husband got killed. For Mary, it was a horrible misfortune and a heart-breaking event. Dispotently, she recalled her close relationship and the joy that he had shared in science research. The fact that she had 2 young daughters to raise by herself greatly increased her distress. So now she was completely distressed. Then, Curie feeling of desolation. So this is the word which is there in the third question. Curie's feeling of desolation finally began to fade. Fade means go away. When she was asked to succeed her husband as a physics professor at the Sorbonne, she was the first woman to be given a professorship at the world famous university. So I think this is the answer to the third part, right? The third question asks us that how did Mary deal with the desolation caused by her husband's death? So the desolation started fading up, right? The desolation started fading up. How did it fade? She was given an opportunity to join as a professor at the Sorbonne University, right, in place of her husband. And she was the first woman professor to hold this particular post. Then it says, so see, by this all the 3 questions are covered. Now only that we are left with a summary, right? It's been 5 minutes as per the stopwatch. It says in 1991 she received the Nobel Prize in Physics for isolating radium. Although Mary eventually suffered fatal illness from her long exposure to radium, she never became disillusioned about her work. So although, let's say, working with radium caused her fatal health effects, but she was still not, let's say, dejected or let's say was not sad that she worked with radium on a and discovered radium. Regardless of the consequences, she had dedicated herself to science and to revealing the mysteries of the physical world. So she dedicated her life towards physics and invention for the betterment of human race. So see, by this first 3 questions we are already done with. If we are supposed to write a summary, right, it's all about talking about Mary. We'll say that Mary was born in 1867 to a physics professor in Warsaw, Poland. From her childhood, she was greatly influenced towards wonders of science and technology. She completed her school and wanted to do higher education in science, but University of Warsaw did not provide opportunities for women to study. So she moved from Poland to in 1891 and entered Sorbonne University in France, where she completed her doctorate in physics. Then we'll say Mary married Perry, who was a scientist and a professor in the Sorbonne University, right? Then working together in physics laboratory, they did a discovery of radium. Later, Perry died because of an accident in 1906. By this incident, Mary was caught aback and was highly distorted, but her desolation started fading out when she was provided an opportunity to work as a professor in place of her husband in the famous University of Sorbonne. She won the Nobel Prize in Physics, right, in 1991 for isolating radium. Then eventually, because of long exposure to radium, she had fatal illness, but she kept on working towards the betterment of the human race. So this is how the summary would go. And see, the time in the stopwatch is 8 minutes, right? Having long discussions, and even after explaining the passage to you, we could discuss it in 8 minutes round. So I am highly confident that most of you would be able to complete this 5-mark question in or within 8 minutes. So summary done. Answer to the first question, what she did not like about the Warsaw University? That they do not provide opportunities for women to study. It was closed for men. Second, what was the first step? That she left Warsaw and went to Sorbonne University in France. Then how did she deal with her desolation? Desolation was dealt with when she was provided an opportunity to work as a professor in the Sorbonne University. Is it clear with everyone? I want to see thumbs up. And thumbs up for the fact that now this looks achievable, right? Now this looks achievable, and all of us will be able to do it well in the exam and will be able to fetch full 5 marks. I want each one of you to fetch full 5 marks in this. This is part of compulsory, and see, our entire motive of BCR is that we should try to complete BCR, right, in the shortest possible time, right, so that we get let's say greater amount of time to attempt the law paper. And believe me, this is achievable. We should try to score 35 out of 40, right? As the sessions are going, you will realize that it's nothing which is a rocket science, and this is really easy stuff. The only thing which is required is practice. If you are able to commit time towards BCR, right, then it is really productive. And another, let's say, analogy which I would like to draw here is, try and understand. In our second paper, right, all of us know that it is business law, 60 marks. And there is this BCR, which is 40 marks. Try and understand, once we are done with this entire syllabus, once you have done the entire thing with me, you can revise your entire BCR in 10 hours flat. Right? That's the revision time. And maybe if we devote approximately 40 hours of total time to BCR, right? If we are devoting total 40 hours of self-study to BCR, we should be able to do at least to the extent that we score 30 plus in the exam. But if we talk about business law, most of you would take 40 hours of learning time just to do the Indian Contract Act. So what I am trying to put in front of you is the cost benefit ratio, right? Cost is the time which we are spending. Benefit is the marks that we will cover up by putting that time. So the cost benefit ratio, or the time to marks, ratio is very high in BCR, right? Time to mark ratio is extremely high in BCR, right? Because by devoting, let's say, 1/4 of time that we'll be required to devote in law, right, we'll be able to cover 40 marks portion. So again, it's a request to each one of you to take this portion absolutely seriously. If you are able to do well in this, I am 100% sure that you all will score 60 plus 70 plus marks in law, which is considered very good. Let's come to the third one. We'll do one more passage, right? And then I'll give you the work note so that you can practice on your own. Let's do this. Let us again time track this. Let us quickly read the questions. Right, here we have 3 questions of 1 mark each, and we have one question which is, I think, writing summary. What are the indicators of reef decay? So we need to write about indicators of reef decay. How does algae carry out process of photosynthesis? So we need to see how the process of photosynthesis is carried by the algae. How is man responsible, right? How is man responsible for destruction of natural reefs? And finally, we need to write the summary. So we need to talk about indicators of reef decay, then how the photosynthesis is carried out, and how is man responsible for destruction of natural reef. So it says coral reef. Now, if you don't know what is coral reef in the exam, it does not really matter, because you will read and you will see that there are, let's say, straight away you are able to track the answers. But if you want to know what is water reef, this is basically something which is underwater, right? If you do let's say a Google search on coral reef, you will see the images on the Google. It's basically underwater plantation. In the sea, if you go underwater, right, there are rocks with different kind of plantations on it. That is known as coral reef. Coral reef are one of the most fragile, biologically complex and diverse marine ecosystem on the earth. This ecosystem is one of the fascinating paradox of the biosphere. Found along the sea coast, they are formed in various shapes and sizes. They constitute as one of the beautiful creations of nature. Then it says symbolic cells of algae. See, this word we had seen, known as zooxanthella, carry out photosynthesis using metabolic waste of the coral, thereby producing food for themselves. So the second question has something to do with photosynthesis. We'll quickly look at the second question and we'll relate back to this. It says, how does algae carry out the process of photosynthesis? So here our answer to this is located. See how what we'll put in. We'll say symbiotic cells, right? Symbiotic cells known as algae, known as zooxanthellae, carry out photosynthesis using metabolic waste of the coral, right? They use metabolic waste of coral and thereby produce food for themselves. You can put in the entire thing, right? This will form part of your answer to question number 2. So we're done with answer to question number 2. Then themselves process allows organisms in the reef community to use spare nutrients resources efficiently. Then unfortunately coral reef, however, a variety of human activity. Unfortunately for coral reef, however, a variety of human activity are causing worldwide degradation. Degradation means there is a fall or there is a destruction of shallow marine inhabitants by adding nutrients to the water. Right? Agriculture, slash and burn, cleaning, sewage disposal and manufacturing that create waste byproduct all increase nutrient load in these waters, right? Typical symptoms of reef decline would mean decay, are destabilized herbivorous population and increasing abundance of algae and filter feeding animals. Decline in reef community are consistent with the observations that nutrients input is increasing. Right, so it says decline in reef communities are consistent with observation that nutrient input is increasing in the direct proportion of growing human population, thereby threatening reef communities sensitive to sublet changes in the nutrients input in the water. So now we have read this. So we have directly got the answer to question number 2, which is the photosynthesis. Now the third question says, how is man responsible for destruction of natural reef? So here it says, unfortunately for coral reef, however, variety of human activities, right? What is responsible? Variety of human activities are causing worldwide degradation. Right? What are these activities? These activities are agriculture, slash and burn, cleaning, sewage disposal, manufacturing, right? That caters waste by products. All increases nutrients load in the water. So you could mention that in the third part, you could say that how is man responsible? We will say variety of human activities are responsible for this. For example, agriculture, slash and burn, clearing, sewage disposal, manufacturing, right? These create, let's say, different kind of nutrients in the water, and these coral reefs decay. So now we have answer to question number 3 as well. What are the indicators of reef decay? Indicators of reef decay, we can say it says decline in reef community consists with observation that nutrient input increases in direct proportion with human growing population, right? There is a growth in the human population, and because of this growth in the human population, right, this indicates that there is a decay. So it's basically, it will talk about see that this is the specific portion which you can put in your answer. The typical symptoms of reef decay, because I have said that decay and decline is same, are destabilization of herbivorous population and an increase in abundance of algae and filter feeding plants. So this particular portion is your answer to question number. This particular portion is your answer to question number 1. Is this absolutely clear to everyone? I want to see your response in the chat. I'll again quickly discuss the answers. Right? I want each one of you to put this in the chat. What was the answer to question number 1? What are the indicators of reef decay? Decay would mean decline. Right, so here it's straight away given typical symptoms of reef decline or decay are destabilized herbivorous population and an increase in abundance of algae and filter feeding animals. So this is the first answer. Second answer about photosynthesis, we have already marked that symbiotic cells of algae known as zooxanthellae carry out photosynthesis using metabolic waste of coral, thereby producing food for themselves. So this is the answer to the second question. Then answer to the third question is, how is man responsible? We have already marked that there are variety of human activities, right? And the example of these activities are agriculture, slash burn, clearing, sewage disposal, manufacturing, right? All these are the examples of activities that man is responsible for decay of coral reef. And then there is a summary to the above that we need to write. If we are to write the summary, say I'll just if I am to summarize, I would say that coral reef are fragile and complex biological features which are present in the marine ecosystem, right? Then we'll say that they consist of beautiful creations of nature, and then they, let's say, we'll talk about the system of photosynthesis, that we could straight away put this particular line, that Symbiotic cells of algae known as this carry out photosynthesis to create food for themselves. Then we'll say that unfortunately these coral reefs are, let's say, are on a decay because of variety of human activities like agriculture, manufacturing, sewage, etc. And then we'll say that the indicators of reef decay is decline is because of destabilization of herbivorous population and an increase in abundance of algae and filtered feeding plants. And human activity and population has direct impact on the let's say decay of the coral reef. So short and sweet summary will work. Is it clear with everyone? Is it clear with everyone? If there's any question in relation to this, if everybody is able to follow, please type in the chat able to follow. Right? If everyone has been able to follow, I need to know that the way we read it, we first read the question, then we read the passage, we linked the passage, relevant, let's say sentences in the passage with the questions, right? This is the style in which we need to do the comprehension passage. If you are able to follow, please type in the chat able to follow, and each one of you have to do it. If you are present in the live session, right, don't be so much lazy that you are not responding. I want to see responses of each one of you. Quickly guys, each one of you have to respond. That do you feel confident in terms of doing the comprehension passages? Even after discussions and going back and forth, we were able to do this particular activity in less than 10 minutes. So I am pretty much sure that 7 to 8 minutes is the max you will take. Today itself, once we are done with this session, right, I am leaving the 5th question for you, right? I am leaving this 5th question for you. After you are done with this, just do this 5th question and see how much time you take, right? Shortly after the class, I will share this PDF with all of you, right? And once you have the PDF, you will find lot more questions on comprehension passages. And at the end of the, let's say, document, I'll put in inductive answers to each particular questions which have been asked. So if you want to be sure about the fact that whether what you wrote, the answer what you wrote or the summary what you have written is in context and does it match with the institute answer or not, so I'll put in an inductive answer key to it as well, which will benefit you, right? So great. So most of you have responded saying that you're able to follow. Great. So we'll keep this session till here today, right? I'll share the PDF in some time so that you could start practicing on comprehension, and you will get the notification to the next session on the app itself. If there is any question, you could ask me. If there is any question, please ask me. And a quick reminder again, we are 3 months away from the exam for people appearing in the December term. Please take this very seriously. I don't want you to repent later, right? I don't want you to repent later that had we put in more efforts, we would have been better off, right? I don't want you to be in a position that you repent later. You have all the time in the world. Please try to ensure that you put in the requisite efforts and clear it in the first go itself, right? And do fill in your forms on time. If there is any help which you need from our side, put it on the WhatsApp. We'll be happy to help and respond. But please ensure that the forms are filled on time. I want each one of you to fill your form on time, right? So that's it guys. See you in the next session. Bye.